Luke gets bullied at school by a group of thugs, unaware that David, a recently retired Special Forces soldier, is watching over him. David confronts Luke and asks him to point out who hit him the day before. Once he knows who's responsible, David decides to take action. He brings Luke along to follow the bullies to a bar, orders a fireball cocktail laced with chili peppers, and then gets drinks for the bullies' girlfriends, shots for the ladies, and cosmopolitans for the guys. One of the bullies, irritated, approaches and throws the drink at David, who calmly returns the gesture with a spicy cocktail. David unleashes a brutal beating on each one of them. After paying for the damages, he leaves with Luke. But it's later revealed that David isn't actually Luke's brother. He was a close friend and former comrade of Luke's real brother, Caleb, who was killed in combat 2 weeks earlier. Following Caleb's death, the Peterson family, Spencer, his wife Laura, and their children, Luke and Anna, are still grieving. One morning, after Spencer and Luke leave the house, a composed man knocks on the door. He introduces himself as David Collins, a former U.S. Army sergeant who served with Caleb and was his closest friend. Laura is surprised he knows her name, but she invites him in, though she remains slightly suspicious. David explains he was recovering in a military hospital after an injury and came to visit right after his discharge. He tells her he was with Caleb when he died and that Caleb wanted him to check in on his family and let them know he loved them. Laura excuses herself to cry in the bathroom. When she returns, David shows her a photo from their deployment, which eases her doubts. Sensing her sadness, David pretends he's going to leave, but Laura insists he stay, saying Anna would want to meet him. David earns Laura's trust quickly, although Anna remains cautious. When he mentions staying at a motel, Laura offers him Caleb's old room. After Anna leaves for work, Laura shows David to the room and assures him it's fine for him to stay there. Once alone, David's expression becomes unreadable. Meanwhile, Luke is still being bullied at school, but hides it from his mom, pretending everything is fine. David gradually becomes involved in the family's life. At home, Spencer argues with Laura, angry that she let a stranger stay in the house, worried David could be mentally unstable due to PTSD. Laura defends her decision. David notices bruises on Luke's face, but Luke dismisses them, saying he got hit by a football in gym class. After a tense exchange with David, Spencer storms off. Then Laura tells Luke to focus on his homework. David compliments Luke on his intelligence while helping him with his homework, making the boy feel appreciated. When Anna comes home from work, she remains distant toward David, but Spencer's attitude has warmed significantly. That night, Spencer and David bond over beers and a football game. During their conversation, Spencer opens up about his stress over finances and job issues. He's bitter about a younger colleague being promoted to regional manager just because he has a degree, while Spencer, despite years of experience, was passed over. When David mentions plans to head to Florida for construction work, Spencer insists he stay longer, not wanting him to leave so soon. As Spencer goes for another beer, David's expression turns dark. Before long, David becomes an integral part of the family's life. He begins picking up Luke from school and even takes care of his bullying problem, gaining Luke's full trust. His relationship with Anna, however, is more complicated. One evening, Laura pressures Anna to take David along to a Halloween party. While getting ready, Anna mistakes David for Luke in the bathroom and is surprised when a shirtless David emerges. Embarrassed and blushing, she stammers, taken aback by his physique. Though reluctant, Anna takes David to the party hosted by Kristen. When she mentions her boyfriend Zeke, David promises to keep it to himself. At the party, David quickly charms everyone with his looks. Meanwhile, Kristen is harassed by her ex-boyfriend, Drew. David steps in and beats him up. Kristen, impressed by his bravery, ends up sleeping with him, unaware of his true nature. During the party, David also asks Craig about purchasing firearms. When asked why, he simply replies that he's a soldier and likes guns. Later, David notices Anna and Zeke arguing. Upset, Anna decides to leave early, and David offers to drive her. On the way, Anna vents about Zeke's lack of ambition, explaining that she's been saving for college while he remains jobless. David flatters her, saying if he had a girl like her, he wouldn't have gone to war. Moved by his words, Anna promises to make him a mix CD when he expresses interest in a song playing on the radio. Back home, Anna begins working on the mix CD while David sits silently in his room, his face grim and unnerving. The same day, Anna overhears him having an intense phone call using Luke's phone. He's speaking to someone who appears to be a plastic surgeon, demanding a new identity. He mentions being off the grid and is concerned that people are hunting him down. Feeling alarmed, Anna contacts the military base to verify his identity, giving them the name David Anderson Collins. The phone call Anna overhears triggers an alert at KPG, a private military contractor. It turns out David is actually a military test subject who was officially declared dead. Upon learning he's staying with the Petersons, Major Richard Carver, the head of the experiment, mobilizes a special forces team to track him down. "Book me on the next flight. If we need to charter something, do it, and I'm going to need some shooters." Meanwhile, David meets Craig and his associate to buy firearms. Once Craig confirms he has cash, his partner eagerly begins showing off the weapons. This is just a standard Beretta. You've probably seen one before. But after expressing interest in buying all the weapons, David suddenly turns on them. "No, I'm going to kill you." Without hesitation, he shoots both men, takes their guns and grenades, and disappears. Back at home, Anna receives a call from the military base. They reveal disturbing news. David Collins died a week ago in a fire at a military hospital in Arizona. Before she can tell Laura, Spencer comes home with shocking news of his own. His boss and his boss's girlfriend have died after allegedly overdosing on prescription pills. The tragedy unexpectedly leads to Spencer's sudden promotion and salary bump. Later, Anna receives a call from Zeke, who informs her he's been arrested for Craig's murder. The gun used was found in his van, and more incriminating items were discovered in his room. "But you're innocent," Anna says in disbelief. Still, Zeke is stuck. Everything is falling apart around Anna, and it all began when David entered their lives. Anna opens up to her family about her suspicions. While her mother listens with sympathy, Spencer dismisses her concerns. "You want to know why Zeke was arrested for murder? Because he probably did it." His dislike for Zeke, which is why Anna kept the relationship hidden, adds fuel to the argument. As tensions rise, Anna reveals she contacted the military and was told David Collins was dead. David calmly explains it away, claiming he was in special forces and the military gave a cover story to civilians. He even shows his dog tags for proof. Spencer, convinced, becomes furious with Anna and demands she apologize. "You owe him an apology right now. Watch your mouth, young lady." Upset, Anna curses at her father and storms off to her room. David continues to play innocent, reassuring the parents it's all a misunderstanding. Later, Anna is startled when David suddenly appears in her room. She freezes, expecting aggression, but he speaks softly. "I just want to say how sorry I am about Craig." He says he'll be leaving in a few days and subtly warns her to stop digging into his past. His intense gaze lingers until she agrees. On his way out, he sees the mix CD Anna made and puts on a cheerful act. "Thank you, I can't wait to listen to it." Meanwhile, Richard arrives at the airport determined to catch David. "I want every contractor within a 100-mile radius. I need a team mobilized by the time I land." As Anna continues her search, she finds that David has been calling a plastic surgeon in Miami named Peter Boddington, whose license was revoked 2 years ago. She asks Luke to help find more clues. "You really think David killed Craig and that other guy?" Although hesitant, Luke agrees to help. When Luke is attacked again at school, he defends himself, punching the bully and hitting him with a yardstick. Both end up in the principal's office. David and Laura arrive, and David is proud that Luke followed his advice. But the principal decides to expel Luke. David argues that a gay student who defended himself shouldn't be punished. Using legal threats and manipulation, David pressures the principal to reduce the punishment to a month of detention. Grateful, Luke confides in David, telling him Anna suspects he killed Craig and plans to go to the police. At first, David brushes it off, but when Luke adds that he knows David is impersonating someone with the help of a plastic surgeon, David's mood shifts immediately. "That's your boss too, right?" Luke assures him he won't say anything and that nobody will believe Anna anyway. David also learns Anna has already confided in Kristen. While David helps Laura with the laundry, she sincerely thanks him for everything he's done for the family. "I'm really grateful," she says. David, slightly uncomfortable, quietly excuses himself to get the rest of the laundry. Suddenly, Richard and his team arrive at the Peterson home. Before Richard can explain anything to Laura, David returns and a violent shootout erupts. Injured in the leg, David tries to escape but runs into Laura in the kitchen. When she questions who he really is, he admits he and Caleb were part of the same program. Holding a knife behind his back, David hesitates to harm her until she yells out his location. Without pause, he stabs her in the chest. David eliminates everyone except Richard and escapes in a vehicle. On the road, he runs into Spencer. "I'm really sorry about this, sir," he says, before killing him too. With his car tires shredded, Richard hijacks a civilian vehicle to reach Anna at the diner. David arrives soon after, but finds she's already gone. Enraged, he shoots Kristen and blows up the diner with grenades. Richard, now with Anna, explains the truth. David was part of an advanced military program designed to create perfect soldiers through behavioral conditioning. He escaped by burning down the facility, leaving behind unidentifiable bodies to fake his death. At school, Luke is serving detention, helping set up for the Halloween dance. As he's about to answer a call from Anna, the teacher confiscates his phone. On the way to the school, Anna and Richard see emergency vehicles heading in the opposite direction. Richard reveals someone attacked the diner. They realize David is behind it. Anna immediately asks, "Where are my parents?" Richard grimly replies, "They're both dead." He explains that David's conditioning turns him into a killer who eliminates threats to the program or himself. Even if he wants to stop, he can't. They arrive at the school, where the Halloween dance is in full swing. As they reach Luke, the power cuts out. David plays Anna's mixed CD over the speakers and begins his killing spree. Amid the chaos and flickering lights, he murders Luke's teacher and then kills Richard with a box cutter. Luke initially refuses to believe David could be dangerous, but David wouldn't hurt us, he says. That illusion is shattered when Anna tells him he killed Mom and Dad. Once Luke is safely hidden, Anna goes off alone to confront David. David begins hunting Luke. "Come on out, buddy. I'm not going to hurt you," he says in a chilling tone. Just as David is about to find him, a distant noise pulls his attention. He follows a trail of blood to Richard's gun and finds Anna waiting. "You killed my parents," she says, and fires. David falls, and Anna thinks it's over, but he suddenly stabs her in the leg. As she tries to shoot again, the gun misfires and sparks a fire. David begins to strangle her. At the last moment, Luke stabs David with the very knife David once gave him. Freeing Anna, David looks at Luke and says, "You did the right thing," giving a final thumbs up before collapsing. Afterward, Anna and Luke sit outside, bloodied and traumatized, waiting in the back of an ambulance.